Scientists warn today that climate change is warming the planet to the point where it's causing irreversible damage in some parts of the world.
In November 2022, I was invited as a speaker to an event held at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C.
The world we see today might not be here tomorrow. There is a threat looming over our dear planet that could spell the end of the world and everything in it. But there is hope. According to a scientist who revealed this doomsday news, the utter destruction of Mother Earth is still very much preventable. Who exactly is this scientist? What does he think we can do to prevent the end of the world? Join us as we explore the shocking information revealed by a CBN scientist and its implications for our lives. Scientists reveal shocking information. Egon Cohen, the scientist behind the shocking end-of-the-world message, is a retired lawyer and physicist from Cambridge, Massachusetts. He worked at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and was a visiting researcher at Harvard University. Cohen is thought to have worked on the Future Circular Collider project at the Conseil Européen pour la Recherche Nucléaire, CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research. The project was focused on building a new collider intended to replace the Large Hadron Collider. In addition, he contributed to the NASA project NISAR, which aimed to build a satellite that would document Earth's natural processes. After graduating from Harvard Law School in 1972, he worked as a tax analyst at the U.S. President's Commission on International Trade and Investment Policy. He has mostly focused on international tax law and national security for the majority of his life. He is currently a government lobbyist. Despite Egon Cohen's impressive resume, not everyone thinks he is a sufficiently qualified scientist to comment on the subject matter. Is Cohen who he says he is? Skeptics looking into the credibility of this so-called scientist have pointed out that most of the jobs he has held, and there are many, are somewhat related to law, national and cybersecurity, not natural sciences. Even though he is identified as an employee of Harvard University, Cohen is not included on the university's physics faculty page. In fact, in his biography, Cohen makes it clear that he was a national security researcher, not a physicist. Furthermore, while there are vague references to employment at NASA and CERN, there are without many details. Although there is an individual with the Cohen surname among the authors of reports on several CERN projects, it is hard to pinpoint exactly what Cohen did for CERN, because those papers contain more than 1,000 authors. Yes, it has been reported that Cohen worked on the NISAR project. However, these projects are incomplete. This year is expected to see the launch of the NISAR satellite, and the new Collider project is not expected to be finished before 2040. Regardless of his involvement in these programs, it is clear that Cohen could not have used the NISAR satellite to observe certain dangerous natural events. Cohen also seems to have accomplished a great deal in his life, to the point that it nearly looks unreal. For instance, it is stated that in 2020 alone, he attended 6 different programs at prestigious American and European colleges. He represents himself as a licensed professional in psychological assistance, specializing in the treatment of loss and grief. It is said that he completed these studies in Australia. In addition, Cohen frequently shares images with a variety of scientists, politicians, and well-known figures from very different backgrounds. Examples of these individuals include the former CIA Director Stansfield Turner and the former President of North Macedonia, Georgi Ivanov. In addition, some have wondered about his connections to Eastern Europe, given that he frequently shares posts by Katerina Odorchenko, the leader of the Ukrainian party, National Platform, that are not translated into English. For instance, he reposted an address a few days before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, in which Odorchenko asserted, in Ukrainian, that Putin would not dare to undertake a significant offensive. The majority of users who like Cohen's postings have blank profiles and no followers. Although the credibility of Egon Cohen as a scientist somewhat remains in question, his message to the world caught the attention of many who happened upon it. The Doomsday Message. On August 13, 2023, Cholakian's video message about the end of the world appeared on his Earth Save Science Collaborative YouTube channel, the same day as the channel. The video eventually made its way to other social media platforms like TikTok. In the video, Cholakian says he has found several worrisome anomalies in every layer of the Earth's structure. He talks about an unprecedented change in the rotational axis of the Earth, an inconsistent and chaotic acceleration of its rotation, and an incredible displacement and destabilization of Earth's core. He claimed that this situation was made worse by a critical weakening of the magnetic field, the emergence of atypical anomalies, and a change in the composition of the upper layers of the atmosphere, all of which have led to an extreme activation of magnetic phosphite, a rise in deep mantle earthquakes, and a reduction in the ocean's thermal conductivity. Cholakian argues that as a result, our oceans are no longer able to serve as a cooling and compensating mechanism. These considerations collectively point to one conclusion: humanity has a limited amount of time to prevent the approaching disaster that could wipe out our planet. You might have begun to wonder how a retired physicist came across these troubling pieces of information. Let's find out. Allatra discovers the end of the world. At this point in the video, Cholakian draws attention to the work being done by Allatra, an organization that describes itself as a movement dedicated to joining all nations in friendship based on cultural and moral as well as spiritual values. He says that if it were not for Allatra, the current state of the planet would be hopeless. He goes on to say that the reason for the observed abnormal changes in the Earth's core and the rise in natural disasters in the present era has been identified by the interdisciplinary and objective method adopted by the scientists at Allatra. According to Cholakian, the impending catastrophe is the result of climate disasters, which happen on Earth cyclically every 12,000 years and with considerably greater intensity every 24,000 years. The representative and scientists of Allatra, he said, had started openly warning the world about this climatic risk more than 10 years ago and had even presented a workable remedy. However, the world, particularly the scientific community, failed to listen to them because they thought they were too smart to listen to anybody else. Cholakian acknowledges having been that way as well. He admits that he was used to relying solely on his calculations and proof. Now he claims to have carefully reviewed every piece of information supplied by Allatra, validated the mathematical model that predicts the geometric progression in the rate of climate-related calamities, and confirmed that, unfortunately, everything is accurate. To reiterate, Egon Cholakian asserts that he was involved in creating the methodology for evaluating the accuracy of data used by the CIA and other intelligence agencies. Equipped with this background, expertise, and confidence, he has also carefully reviewed the mathematical model used by Allatra and can attest to its veracity, accuracy, and ability to accurately reflect the dynamics and trends. Although he acknowledges that the Earth's demise is unsettling, he says that doesn't make it any less real. He claims that any scientist can independently confirm this by doing calculations with publicly available data. According to him, the mathematical model used is as true as the reality that modern humanity has fewer than 10 years to take decisive action to ensure its survival. It is not all bad news for the world, though. Cholakian had a solution that could indeed prevent the end of the world. Cholakian's big solution. To address the problem of climate collapse, Cholakian suggests that the best scientific minds from around the globe need to come together and create a single, multinational research institution. Cholakian wants this center to have access to all required tools, satellites, observatories, and research stations worldwide for it to function effectively. He emphasized that such an undertaking would require unprecedented, limitless funding because, to solve a problem of this nature, all current laboratories, research institutes, colliders, and the like would need to make devoted commitments. He states that information from almost every part of the globe, from its core to its near-space environment, will need to be continuously gathered and analyzed. The world would only be able to take control of the processes that are currently accelerating our demise and stop them with such measures. But would joining all the world's scientific minds really stop the impending doom? And how can we go about that? End all wars. The former lawyer and physicist also believed that all wars, military conflicts, disagreements, and geopolitical problems have to end for his plan to be effective. He argued that because every nation is at risk from a common foe, we must stop the world's disintegration and destruction. He highlighted the necessity of pooling our efforts and realizing that disasters hardly happen at a convenient time. He believes that we should take urgent action to address the issue of climate migration while we still have the chance to do it in a largely stable environment. According to him, the terms for relocating people to other areas ought to be decided democratically, free from compulsion, with consideration for each person's free will, and following all human rights laws. During this process, people ought to feel like human beings, and that their lives are significant, meaningful, and safe. It is critical to acknowledge that in this race, there won't be any leaders soon. As a result, everyone should be able to travel freely across national borders. He says he understands full well that this kind of unrestricted movement means people from different backgrounds, cultures, and customs will inevitably come into contact with one another. He therefore suggests the creation of uniform policies and guidelines that won't violate the rights of other migrants or host communities. According to him, these laws have to be based on respect for one another and the need to coexist peacefully. For Cholakian, it is critical that individuals maintain their human identity, that their respect and dignity are not infringed upon, and that they do not have contrived causes for conflict. He admits that a significant relocation of the population will require an overhaul of the economic structure. He thinks that a single planned international economy is necessary for the distribution of essentials and other things, but it is also important to preserve individual national economies. According to Cholakian, the goal of this unified economy should be to guarantee everyone, regardless of where they live or relocate, humane, dignified living conditions. He said that it was imperative to redirect all efforts and resources toward a worldwide transformation of world politics because of the dire circumstances the world is facing. He stated that the world's militaries have to change their methods of operation from eliminating adversaries to rescuing civilians. He concluded by saying that there is no longer any justification for fighting in division, and that humans are not enemies of one another. The only rational thing to do is look for methods to bring people together, since no nation can resist what lies ahead on its own. Cholakian must not have thought that his speech got the response he wanted because just 5 days later, he published another video. Another end of the world message. This time, Egon Cholakian directed his speech, which was much longer, to 3 world leaders. The President of the United States of America, Mr. Joe Biden, the Chairman of the People's Republic of China, Mr. Xi Jinping, and the President of the Russian Federation, Mr. Vladimir Putin. He acknowledged that the 3 well-known leaders' opinions are crucial in determining the direction of the world agenda as he spoke to them in an open and public manner. He remarked that if they could hear and understand the seriousness of the climate threats that humanity is currently facing, then the world community as a whole would also be made aware of this issue, giving humanity a chance to avert this impending catastrophe. He called the current state of affairs a truly significant and historic turning point in human history. He claimed that the political will of these leaders will determine the fate of every person on Earth. He claims that because of his position as a multidisciplinary researcher representing elite university and laboratory affiliations, and as a representative of the scientific community, as well as his long-standing close working relationships with 4 U.S. presidents, he felt forced to make this urgent remark. He pleaded with the leaders to immediately turn their full attention back to the grave threat that climate change poses to our planet and all of humanity. He made it clear that he was talking about a much more serious issue generating abnormal changes in all levels of the Earth, not greenhouse gases or carbon dioxide emissions. According to him, this issue has not been sufficiently investigated and has to be thoroughly looked at right away by the scientific community. He expressed his wish to clarify the important features of the problem to promote a more profound comprehension, as the increasing temperature changes of the present day are caused by an external cosmic impact that is destabilizing Earth's core and is made worse by the ocean's loss of thermal conductivity function. While showing a chart, he pointed out two crucial boundaries on the chart: the annual divergence of the global ocean surface temperature and trends in the quantity of heat stored in the world's oceans. He claimed that the data clearly showed an increased tendency in both situations. He thought that these disturbances to the planet's balance lead to an abrupt rise in the frequency and power of extreme atmospheric events, such as hurricanes, typhoons, tornadoes, and unusual precipitation that causes floods. These disruptions, he said, even extend to geodynamic disasters like earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. He stated that based on a mathematical model developed by the global scientific team Allatra, the increasing frequency of climate disasters follows a geometric pattern that means that, as a result of the Earth's cataclysms, there will be almost no livable land left in just 7 years. Like in the first video, he restated that he has confirmed their calculations and their mathematical model, and he has every right to claim its precision and accuracy. He made it clear that he had worked on developing methods for assessing the porosity of data that were used by the CIA, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, and other American foreign intelligence organizations. Just like he did with his first video, he also had a solution that he thought the leaders had to hear: an appeal to all. He continued his message by repeating what he had stated in his initial video, which was released on August 13, 2023. He declared that he had made a strong case for the creation of an international center for scientific study, appealing to the scientific community, world leaders, and all of humanity. He claimed that this center would enable a thorough analysis of the various aspects of climate change and the creation of practical and long-lasting remedies. He claimed that his only motivation for launching the idea was to unite top authorities in interdisciplinary scientific research and provide them with the best possible working conditions, including unrestricted funding and access to all relevant scientific resources, achievable only with unanimous support and cooperation of all countries. He reported a resounding response from his peers, seasoned scientists from all over the world, who shared his concerns regarding the state of the global climate and believed that action needed to be taken with the urgency that comes with an imminent apocalyptic event. He said that his website has had many requests to support his effort, and he would be happy to hear from anyone else in the world. The scientist had some direct words for the most important world leaders. To Biden, Jinping, and Putin, he expressed his anticipation for more conversations regarding the formation of a multinational group of experts with a variety of specialties who are equipped to take on this massive task. He asserted that several scientists had already confirmed the previously indicated mathematical model of the catastrophic progression and had come to the same alarming conclusions. He felt the model was perfect and proved that we have an incredibly sad future ahead of us if we fail to take necessary actions now. He claimed that rather than speaking to the notable leaders behind closed doors, he was forced to make an open and public appeal to them. He stated that he is not asking for a face-to-face meeting with them because he believes that there is no longer time for such courtesy. The situation is severe, supernatural security is at stake, and it impacts every nation and its citizens in every way. He said that this was a problem that only the three of them, the leaders, could resolve together. He admitted that one needed a thorough understanding of physical science, something that world leaders usually do not require, in order to fully understand the seriousness of his expressed concerns. He felt that their immediate focus should be centered on his concern due to the insight he possessed. He was therefore depending on the three of them as leaders endowed with special political insight, strategic acumen, vision, and vast managerial experience to address this grave issue at this critical juncture for our civilization as a whole. He sees their political resolve as the key to ensuring the survival of all humankind. He stated that urgent, practical action that falls firmly within their authority's jurisdiction is required to address the enormous threat to humanity and protect our future and the future of our descendants. For him, it was essential that we quickly put an end to all wars, military confrontations, disagreements, and geopolitical problems, just like we should in every other country on the planet. He felt that stopping the world's disintegration and devastation was essential because we must put together our efforts against the common foe that threatens every nation. He addressed the dignified heads of state of the three powerful countries one more time, pleading with them all to listen to him, extend a hand to one another, and above all, come together around a single table immediately. He thought that they could only start the process in their role as global leaders. He stated that these leaders must be seated at one table by the entire planet. He made an urgent appeal that they call an international conference of all state leaders on any platform they deemed appropriate, the United Nations or another location, at any time and on any date. He stated that we cannot afford to wait, as every day that passes during a month decreases our chances of surviving, and the number of deaths correspondingly increases. He stated that he, Cholakian, and his international colleagues were ready to provide these leaders with in-depth knowledge regarding the current state of the climate, so they could personally observe what was happening on Earth and what lay ahead for us shortly. He asserted that it would take him and his associates 2 hours to inform world leaders of the urgency of the current situation. His colleagues agreed that the nation's leaders must meet as soon as possible. He stated that everything depended on the three leaders. The sooner they responded to his request, the sooner world leaders would gather around a single table, considerably increasing the likelihood that humanity would survive its current collision path with misfortune. Cholakian's message certainly left a lot of people with mixed feelings. On the one hand, ending all wars is great, but what did free migration for all have to do with stopping the destruction of the planet from what he described as a natural geological process? Why was this message from a scientist about a scientific problem very political? Why did a biological problem require a political answer? What were Cholakian's motivations behind his Doomsday Message, and was anyone promoting it? Who is behind Cholakian? 1 month before the Earth Save Science Collaborative channel and his End of the World warning appeared, Cholakian spoke at the online conference Global Crisis, There Is a Way Out, hosted by the non-profit Creative Society. There, in an environment similar to that of the videos on his YouTube channel, he discussed the impending end of the world and the necessity of coming together to save humanity. After the event, the Creative Society members took the lead in spreading Cholakian's message on social media by recording it, posting it on TikTok, and organizing live events on Facebook. Creative Society presents itself as a global volunteer movement working to better society. Actually, though, this is a rebranding of the Allatra organization, which first surfaced in Ukraine in the early 2010s and then established representative offices across the US, the EU, Russia, Kazakhstan, and Moldova. Yes, that's the same Allatra that Cholakian praised in his video. Because of the similarities of its ideas to those of the well-known White Brotherhood sect, Allatra is often referred to as both a sect and a syncretic cult, which is a cult that mixes several philosophical, religious, or cultural ideas and activities. Up until 2018, this cult actively advertised its events and sought out new members. It then began operating under the new global name Creative Society. In early July, Ihor Danilov, one of Allatra's founders, attended the conference where Cholakian gave his speech. Among the presenters was Russian geophysicist Elizaveta Kromova, who affirmed that the Earth's core is in poor condition and that the end of the world is near. Kromova is particularly well known for her remarks regarding the necessity of the unity of Slavic peoples under Russia's protection. Allatra is frequently accused of endorsing Vladimir Putin and Russian disinformation. Although operating primarily in Eastern Europe, Allatra supported the idea of unifying the Slavic peoples. Now the group, under the brand Creative Society, talks about the value of international peace, critiques the contemporary global economy, and names Putin among the world's leaders. Even Russia has outlawed Allatra, but it did so very recently, in August 2023. Interestingly, the Creative Society has a history of environmentally related disinformation. Though with a different theme, in 2022, the Creative Society hosted one of its global crisis conferences. The organization's members at the time claimed that climate change was merely a global conspiracy and the scam of the century, and that greenhouse gases had no bearing on it at all. They also promoted the usage of oil and gas, while criticizing initiatives using alternative fuels. Russia uses devoted bloggers on social media platforms to aggressively push this theory. Following the 2022 conference, a controversy surfaced. As it happened, some scientists were tricked into doing it. For instance, Salimul Huq, the director of the International Center for Climate Change and Development in Bangladesh, stated that he had shot a quick film at the volunteers' request and had no idea how it would be used. He forbade Creative Society from using his name or quotes after the conference. Furthermore, Juraj Smetana, the state secretary of Slovakia's Ministry of the Environment, said that his report had been altered to give the impression that he agreed with the theses put forth by the Creative Society. With questions being raised about Cholakian and Creative Society's real motivations, everyone obviously deserves another expert opinion. Other expert opinions. Many scientists find Cholakian's statements unusual and have only recently learned about them. Candidate of Physical and Mathematical Sciences, Oleksandr Kenzera, who is also the director of the Institute of Geophysics of the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine, mentions the depth of land Cholakian claims he tested. He questions how it is possible to discuss internal affairs with data gathered from the surface. Considering that the Earth's radius is thousands of kilometers, Cholakian had only scratched the surface by testing just 11 kilometers. According to Hennedy Milanevsky, a doctorate in physical and mathematical sciences and head of the Space Physics Department at the Physics Faculty of Kyiv National University, the claims made regarding the planet's declining situation are not particularly new. However, without any solid evidence, links, or models, Cholakian's declaration that the world will end in a few years is at best careless. Svetlana Krakowska, head of the Ukrainian Hydrometeorological Institute's Applied Climatology Lab, is part of the team working on the IPCC report. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, is an intergovernmental group of specialists on climate change under the United Nations, with a long history and regular reporting on climate issues. According to Krakowska, Cholakian's statement is a hoax. She searched for particular information regarding his scientific involvement, which he claimed was public, but was unable to find it. I hope you have found this startling account of a scientist's predictions regarding the end of the world entertaining. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more content like this one.